Hey everybody, so today, let's take off my glasses. Today we'll be doing some C++. Yeah, so let's get right into it. So first things first, we have to download the thing. So let's go to winlibs.com, and that is winlibs. Wow, I lost it. So winlibs.com, and basically this has what is called a GNU compiler collection, which is GCC, and it's basically, I guess, a downloadable compiler. You have to download the compiler separate from the thing. It's like when you go to Java, you have to go to like java.com to download Java. So here you have to download the GCC, winlibs.com. And then scroll down here, go to one of these two. This is the latest compiler release, so you want to either get the 64 or 32-bit, depending on which computer you're using. Don't get these because I think they're missing some stuff, but they're for different purposes. For our purposes, you want to get one of these. Get the one with the star. Click that. I already have it downloaded right here. And then you'll also want to download code blocks. That's the IDE I want y'all to use. It's pretty good, and it's basically nice and quick, actually. I'll get to why C++ is quicker later. You'll want to click the SourceForge setup here, this first one. Once it loads, give it like 5 seconds and then download. Click that. Click. So I already have it downloaded, so I'm going to cancel this. Before you open the setup, what you want to do is also go to, so you'll want to get this download here. Then you'll want to click on it and extract the winlibs download, by the way, the winlibs download. You want to extract it. And then I extracted in documents. It should say minGW4. Go to environmental variables and then click path. And then you'll want to click new, and then go to your folder, copy this. You'll have to click new again, but copy your link to the minGW folder file, wherever it is. And then you'll also want, I don't need this, but you'll also want to do the same thing for its bin. And then click OK once you're good. I've already done it. And then you can do the same thing with system variables. Same ID here. Click on path. Oh wait. Okay, yeah, you don't have to do system variables then. Okay. Then click OK, delete, and then you can boot up code blocks. Once you boot it up, it should look like this. For your setup, you'll also have to like click next over and over again. Just make sure you accept everything, to be honest. There's really nothing you don't want to accept. There's some libraries you can download. You can probably download those, but yeah. So in order to make your first C++ file, I'm speeding through this because this is kind of the boring part, but let's see, create a new project. You want to go to files, then C++ source. A C++ header is just like an interface in Java, but yeah, source. Click next. I'm going to call this practice.cpp. Actually, wait. First, you have to go to your folder. So whatever folder you want, and I'm going to call it practice.cpp. You want to add this practice.cpp or this .cpp extension because CodeBlocks isn't going to know whether it's CPP, CXX, or CC, so you have to put CPP. CPP is C++. So now we're actually in the IDE. And now I'm going to slow down, but so here we have our C++ file, and there's a bunch of things that are similar to C++ and Java. If statements are the same, if condition is true, I have this, and it also has else. That's also the same. It's also like it's static type, so you have to say int a equals to 5, int b equals to 600 or 100, 500. You have to define it. String is lowercase. That's one thing you'll notice, but yeah. So the most common question is that why is C++ faster? You'll see the comments are also the same too. So why is C++ faster? This is really the only reason why you should switch to C++. But it is because it is a low-level language. You'll hear this in comp sci A, but in order to create a C++ file, it will go take machine code, which is ones and zeros, turn it into assembly. If you don't know what assembly is, let me quickly search it up. Assembly looks something like this, some weird code like this. Changes to assembly, then we'll change it to C++, I think. C or C++. That's usually the line. And then for Java, it looks like this. Machine code, assembly, C/C++, and then it goes to Java. So this kind of extra layer of translation makes it almost like a second slower, which is pretty annoying. So that's just the more you know. So in order to make a C++ like program, or let's do Hello World, right? You don't need to do public class anymore. There are classes and they're public. In fact, C++ is just C but with classes. That's what it's typically called. But you only need one function, and that is the main function. Just like in Java, where there's public static void main, we have a main function. It's in the form of a function, okay? And it also returns int. You can change this. You can change this to unsigned int. You can unsigned int. Or int 30. There's like a bunch of ints. Wow. 1 to 8. 16. Wherever. And this int represents what it's going to return. If I did this, return 50. If I run this, it returns 50. Whatever it returns is, or whatever you return, it's going to return right here. So if I put 50 here, if I put like 69, my favorite number, right? Right here, 69. Typically, what most programmers do is 0 means good, and then everything else means bad. If it says return 0, you're good, nothing went wrong, and we're awesome. And you also notice like the command prompt pops out. I don't know exactly why this happens, but it's just part of C++. So continuing on, let's get into some differences. So in order to make Hello World, it looks like this. Include. So instead of import, like in Java, we have include. And we're going to include the IO stream. And so IO stream stands for input output stream. And basically, just like in Java, input is through I guess one path. Right? We have our program, and it goes through a input path, and then it goes through an output path. So that's IOStream. And if you want to output something, you use std : out. Hello world. Std endline. So this stands for endline, end L. Just like in system.out.println, this endline is L. It ends it. So we run this, it will run hello world. Nice and cool. Hello world. It's pretty nice, so it's cool. One thing you'll notice is that this gets pretty annoying, but anytime you have to use like a class, basically cout falls within the std class, right? If you had system out, println comes from the class of out, and then out comes from the class of system, which is like, blah, blah, blah. That's why we have these dots. In C++, we have these colons. We can remove these colons, actually, if you want to use using namespace. And what it does is C++ infers that, okay, hey, this will still work the same way. Right? What C++ does is it's like, okay, hey, we see C out. We know that it's in the standard library function or standard library class. That means we can just grab it. We don't have to type it. So one of the reasons why I love C++ so much is because it's a lot quicker. It's also like easier to code. You don't have to worry about too much. But there is also some cost with that, and I'll get into that later. So hello world, and you also notice that there are these arrows, and these are kind of dividers, okay? So right here, I can make an integer. And typically, if I did system out, right, typically if I did this, this would actually output hello world 30 through 12 because like Java, once it sees a string, the whole thing's going to be a string. So these two are also counted as strings, separate strings. But here in C++, this becomes like separate from the hello world, and this itself becomes an integer, and it will be 45. This is what it will look like. So hello world 45. They're divided, which is really nice. You'll see why in a sec too. You also have input too. So if I wanted to make a variable name, this is what it looks like. I'm taking in input from C in. C out stands for C output. C like the language and output. And then C in stands for C input. You'll notice that like C in points to name. So imagine like the input pointing to name, whereas like, okay, hey, I got my data, I'm pointing to the output. Just like this diagram right here. Input points to the program, program points out to the output. That's a good way to remember it. Yeah. So here, this would be input, and I would just click inside my command prompt, and I would say like, hey, David, hello, David, right? Cin acts as more of a one-word thing, so you can't put like a line. If you put David Zhang, it only takes David. But any extra output or input is not considered. Another thing you'll have to notice is if you want to get a whole line, you would have to use getLine, and it acts almost exactly like next line in scanner. Expected this primary token before that. Oh, I think it's this. No? Oh wait, stdn. I'm an idiot. Okay, there we go. Getline string file. Oh, so much pain. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about getline. You don't really use getline too much, but whatever. Actually, I'll search it up real quick. Do I have to include something? Oh, I have to include string. Oh, no, it's first. Okay, it's Cin first. Getline. Okay, there we go. So if I wanted to put David Zhang, it would be that. Yeah, that was a quick Google search. But I typically don't use those. So, one other thing is that C++ is a little bit different. It doesn't have a garbage collector, just like Java. It also is a little different in that it doesn't check sometimes. I'm pretty sure. Wait, let me check this. This code actually runs. Even though I have an initialized name. And run it again. Okay, I guess by default it's an empty string, but let me check something. If I put int a, or actually 0. Okay, by default it's 0 too, I guess. Let me try to do something cool. So clearly here, in order to make an array, quick recap, instead of Java being like this, right, this will make an array of integers. You just have to put a2, which is actually really nice. It's the same array as Java, but it's a little different. Okay. the weird part about C++ is that it doesn't check out of bounds errors, which is great and all, but then when you're debugging code and you see like a random number, it's a kind of a pain in the butt to do. So there are, I guess, ways to go around this. There is a special, I think it's called like vector array, something like that. But there's ways to get out of it, but you'll notice that, okay, this is this number, and when you're accessing out of bounds numbers, this number will change, see? And it's completely gibberish. And so one way to check if you have an out of bounds error is just to run your code twice and see if you get different numbers. If you get different numbers there, and you don't have randomization or anything like that, you have an out of bounds, which is annoying because C++ like should check that, but it doesn't. But yeah, just want to make that clear. Okay. So another cool thing about just C++ is that it has this library called bits/std_c++.h. .h means header. I said this earlier, but this is just an interface. This guy has, I'm pretty sure, literally every file you can ever have. Bits std. It literally let's see. It literally has everything you need. It has every single type of string, every single type of algorithm, bit set, complex dec, memory map, set as stack, beautiful, right? Array, chrono, like time, your randomization, blah, everything you need. It is very nice and it's amazing. It's amazing to use, and also just like, you don't have to do imports. You know, you don't have to do import io, java.io.math. blah blah blah. You just get this. It's really nice. Yeah. So I can make stacks. Everything in this is usually lowercase, which is pretty nice. You'll notice that string was lowercase, but here's stack. Right. We have set. There's no tree set or hash set. There's just set, which is just tree set. We have hash set, hash or map. So actually, wait, no. There is hash set, but it's called unordered set. Unordered set. This is a hash set. And then map is just a hash, or this is just a tree map. Tree map, and then a hash map would be unordered. You can actually make your own hash functions in C++. I'm not sure if you can do that in Java, but it's really cool. There's priority queues, there's decs, there's vectors. So in C++, there's no array list. Array list is a dynamic array, meaning you can adjust the size. In C++, it's vector. You can look into the functions, but you can also add its size. So if I put a parentheses in 4, this would make a vector of size 4. And they would be set to 0. You can have them all set to -1 if you do a comma, like this. Something like that. Yeah. Let's see. And if you want to add guys, if you want to add them, you can just do v.pushback. And you would add like the number. You can also specify which index. For loops and if statements are the same. So they also use .size. .size and .length are actually the same in Java too. Let's see, vi. This is how you do a for loop. Ta-da. So what's going on is I set a array of 4, and then I add a 5 to it at the end. It's not that hard. But yeah. So most stuff in C++ is the same, but what I want to end with is what are called macros. So let me just give you my template. So this is one of my a very famous template, but so if I wanted to shorten, like let's say I got really tired of typing an int every time, like int A or int B, okay? What you can do is you can do using, actually let me just, okay, using I equals to int, you can do IA, I equals to 5, scout A. And now you don't have to type an int anymore. You just have to type an I. Now, I is not really conventionally correct because I is like one letter, and that's annoying. You know, what if you want to use I as a variable? Well, you can't do that anymore because you have a macro for it. So, instead, what you can do is you can do like II. Typically, C++, the version of long, which is 64-bit. In C++, it's called long, so I just use LL. Makes things a lot quicker. Here's pair. And also, yeah, Java has its own pair function, so you don't have to like create your own. And you can define it like int or I don't know, set, int set, something crazy like that if you want to go crazy. You can create your own vectors and all that stuff like that. There's a bunch of other stuff. One other thing I want to talk about is the for loops. So here, this is a shortened version of for. So if I were to make a for loop of, let's say, int I equals to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Instead, I can short it to this, for I 10, or I equals to 0, 10, and it fills it for me. The variable is called I. 0 becomes the starting position, A, and you would literally just put it in. And if you want to create your own, you can do hashtag define. Let's say poop J, A, B, and J can represent any integer, it doesn't matter, or any variable. Q and P, something really crazy like that. You can do like if J is, I don't know, or if, actually no, it would be like, let's see, J equals to Q. Actually, what you can do is, I'm going to do Q and P. If Q is greater than P, I don't know, C out 4. And if I did poop 10, 5, actually I'll do like else C out 5. I can actually make a whole program like that. It has to be one line. That's like the only catch. You want to keep things short, like 4. So 4. 10 is greater than 5, so that means I output 4. And if I put like 2, which is not greater than 5, should output 5. Everything's in one line. Technically, I could make like a whole program in one line. This is just parameters. It can literally be anything. That's the best part about macros. C++ has so many other things to offer, but those are just some. If you want to look at Benchy's template, check it out. This is what it is. I use it a lot. I've been just messing around here. Actually, one more thing. Oh yeah, you need C++ 17. which if you use the GNU formula that I said earlier, you should be fine, but it may not work if you don't have the right compiler. But yeah, so actually, before I end this, you know what? I'm going to get watermelon. I can solve it real quick. So, have my integer. I'm going to input it. Then I'm going to say if w greater than 2, cout yes, else cout no. If I spoiled the solution to watermelon, I'm sorry. But this is C++. And, oh, you want to use GNU C++20? Oh, wait, that's not it. Right here. This is, Codeforces just uses C++20. But yeah, that's accepted, so. Ta-da, you can see whatever I listen to, but, that's C++ in a nutshell. So I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, have a great day.